Okay, good evening everyone. This is Joe Henches with Beyond the Chart, and this is a technical analysis stock market review for the weekend. Today is Saturday, December 28th. And we'll turn that music down, and I've got the Shanghai Index up. Actually, I want to start back with the Dow. We'll get to the Shanghai in a minute. So we're going to hit the typical indices and talk about some indicators, take a look at the Shanghai and Apple Computer today real quick. So we had a very tight day on Friday. It was kind of what I call a very compressed day. And a lot of times, of course, it's the holidays and it's hard to tell for sure what's really going to happen. But a lot of times when you have compressed days, one or two in a row, it leads to expansion days. So we'll have to see if we get that as we're coming out here. Now we've had pretty good move coming off the bottom here, and let's take a look at a weekly chart. Actually, I think I wanted to show you. Now, one thing I wanted to mention is that, and I think I mentioned a little bit of this on Thursday night, the DI plus is at a pretty high level. Matter of fact, DI plus is at the highest level it's been all year for any move. Okay, so that means it's pretty strongly overbought, and we could continue to go a little bit higher, but we'll look at a couple indicators which might tell us that maybe we just got a few days. We'll have to see. The RSI is not showing any divergence, though. The RSI is pushed to a higher high and is above where it was at the November high, so that's a positive sign. That doesn't mean we won't get a little pullback here, but that's not showing a negative divergence. So let's take a look at the weekly chart. The weekly chart, a little bit of divergence showing up here. We're definitely getting divergence from the highs from on a weekly basis back from July, August, the August peak to the November peak. You didn't get a higher RSI, and you're not getting a higher RSI with this move here. DI plus, you don't get that same divergence here, but we haven't moved to a higher DI plus on this weekly move. Doesn't mean we can't, it's just not showing it yet. Notice the really low volume, of course, the holidays. So this kind of throws some of this stuff a little bit out of whack with the really low volume that we're seeing. Let's look at the S&P 500, kind of similar to the Dow. It is pushed up here again, not seeing a divergence with the old highs. Again, very high on the DI plus. So you're up in that area where you get very high readings that tend to be either the end of the move for a slight sideways move or a pullback. As you know, markets can correct either by pulling back or correct by simply moving sideways. So let's take a look at the Nasdaq. Nasdaq, again, very compressed days, no divergence here, and no divergence on the DI plus. So this thing has moved outside the channel, as I mentioned. Now, Friday's day was an outside down day, but again, pretty small ranges, pretty small daily ranges over the last few days. So not sure how much we can read into that. Let's see, New York Composite. New York Composite's gotten a little gappy in here in this move, kind of similar, a little bit like in here in this gappiness move. Now I'm not sure why. Don't know that it necessarily means anything. It just happened to jump out at me when I was looking at the chart. The DI plus, again, not really seeing a negative divergence showing up over the last month, like say a 3 or 4 week negative divergence, by seeing that and not seeing that on either one of these. So we could easily see these indices continue to push higher. I think that was it on the New York, on the indices. Now I want to look at the, this started to show up on the trend on Thursday. I mentioned this on Thursday. So now we've got the short-term trading index has got a reading of 0.837, so you round it, it's 0.84. So 0.84 is equal to the second lowest reading of the year, okay, on 9/11 and on 11/15. And like I said, what these have a tendency to do is to lead the market peak by what seems like a week to 2 weeks. Okay, so that's what I seem to be seeing as we look back at these dates, look at these low ranges, and I'm getting a 0.84 right now on the 10-day exponential moving average of the short-term trading index. So that's kind of a red flag that's popping up. And we look at the VIX. The VIX is really not telling us anything new, just the fact that we're down low and we're at low extremes really. The high-low index, let's go back to that. Where are you? Oh, I know what I need to do, and I need to stretch this window out so I can see this a little bit better. There we go. Okay, so remember I talked about how we could maybe have a little M top in here. So kind of like these little M's that start to form, and this may be stalling out in the middle of the range here, but it's kind of hard to necessarily read anything into it just yet. So we'll just have to keep an eye on it to see what develops with that. Let's take a look at the three amigos. We're not really seeing a whole lot more in terms of what we already looked at, semiconductors. Let's look at them on a weekly basis. Weekly basis, kind of a compressed move here on the SMH. And again, trending up very nicely, but I think we're getting some divergence here on the DI plus, and we are getting some divergence on the RSI from the standpoint of it's very slight though. It's not severe, I wouldn't say. Let's take a look at the XHB. Where is it? Home builders. On a weekly basis, the home builders seems to have closed up above these two previous highs. So it looks like it's in breakout type mode. So that is, I think that's a good positive sign. We kind of talked about that last week a little bit too. And the financial index is also moving up nicely. I don't think I'm seeing nothing strong in terms of divergence. This is a weekly chart, very compressed, very tight trading range for the week on XLF, but it has moved to new highs, so that's definitely a positive. All right, that's it for those indicators. Let's take a look at the Shanghai Index. Now, last time I looked at this was right here on this date on the 18th, and I said, look, I think this could possibly break down through this trend line, and it has. And the reason I had said that is because I looked at some past history and said some of these, it looks like we're setting up to kind of duplicate some of these moves, and that's what we've gotten out of the Shanghai Index. So China's still getting some downward pressure, and it went to a new low below this peak. So we'll have to keep an eye on that, and we'll look at that over the next week or so. Last one we'll take a look at is Apple here. This is my rising bearish wedge that I've talked about many times before, and I've looked at Apple on a weekly basis. So I still, until this kind of takes out this peak, I'm still thinking this is going to be rolling over and heading down, and I'm looking forward to break this support line and break this trend line up right in here as a rising wedge and come on down, as I've mentioned once before. So we got a heck of a pop on, what was that, Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday. Yeah, that was Monday, the 23rd. And I think that was after they finally signed the agreement with China Mobile, so they got a little bit of a pop to the upside, and now we've pulled back down. So we'll see whether or not it sustains here and gets some buying to come in, some support, or whether it breaks down further. So that's about it. We'll have the other video talking about trade ideas, and that is it for me for today on this video. Thanks for stopping by. This has been Joe for Beyond the Chart, and we'll talk to you on the next video.